Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be answering your most asked questions about curl retention and curl definition while I style my hair. So this is going to be a wash day Q&A. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Gina and here we talk all things naturally curly hair. I love doing simplified step-by-step tutorials and really helping you problem solve with your curls so that everyone can achieve healthier hair. So let's go ahead and get started with the wash day Q&A. So I'm starting off with clean hair and I'm going to apply my styling products. I first wanted to share what I use to shampoo and condition. I wanted to use all drugstore products for this routine. So I use the Dove Hydration Spa shampoo. It's one of my favorite just regular shampoos, but it does give you a deep cleanse. So I'll link that for you down below. And then I also use the Twist Deep Conditioner. I have a Twist code as well, which can get you even more off their products, which is great. So I'll have that link down below. And so now I'm going to apply my styling products. And for my stylers, I wanted to use drugstore products, so I went with the As I Am leave-in conditioner. I've been testing this a couple of times. I actually got this from Look Fantastic, but I believe their products are available at drugstores. I'm not sure exactly which ones. And then I'm going to use one of my favorite gels of all time. This is the Dove Amplified Textures Shine and Moisture Finishing Gel. So this is a medium to strong hold gel that actually has humidity blocking ingredients. It's a very liquidy gel, and this is sort of like a dupe for my favorite Weedad Advanced Climate Control Gel. I still like that one better, but this is a really close dupe and it's very affordable. So I'm first going to go in with my leave-in conditioner from As I Am. My curls are definitely pretty dry feeling because I've just been letting my hair air dry while I did my makeup. So need to get some leave-in in here ASAP. So I'm just going to rake this all throughout while I start answering some of the questions. So the first question says, what does it mean when my ends are not curly? And then someone else also asked a very similar question that said, do you have any recommendation for ends that won't hold shape or product? So that immediately makes me think that they could be damaged. I'm not sure if you have heat damage in your hair. That's usually the culprit when it comes to straighter ends. Most people naturally have like roots that are a little bit straighter, but you don't always see ends that are straighter unless if they're damaged. So if your hair is curling or spiraling like in the mid shaft area of your hair, but it's not on the ends, that is likely a sign that you need a trim. Even if you feel like you take good care of your ends, you'd be surprised of how just much damage and stuff that ends can get, even just from regular brushing and even just from diffusing and just, you know, regular everyday wear and tear on our hair, even from the sun. So even if you do take good care of your hair and if you're not straightening it, you can still get damaged ends. That's why it's so important to get regular trims. So the other part of that second question said, do you have any recommendations for ends that won't hold shape or product? That's definitely usually from not having enough hold in your products, and then also not from diffusing. I find that whenever I use light hold products, my ends tend to kind of fall limp, and then also when I just air dry, my ends are always really weighed down because of that gravity and just from the movement and stuff when you're air drying, and diffusing really helps to just set them up into place. I do have to make sure I diffuse my ends like towards the end of my diffusing routine to make sure that they do get shrunken up, or else my ends will also dry a little bit stringy even though they are healthy. So that's something to keep in mind if you're not already diffusing, and then also using a strong hold gel. So the gel I'm going to show you in a minute is pretty strong hold, so that would be a good option. So I've been doing this routine quite a bit lately where I first apply my cream or my leave-in all over, and then I section off my hair to apply my gel, and that really helps just give stronger hold and just more coverage with your gel, because then you can make sure that all of your hair is getting gel, because gel is really what can help your curls actually shrink up. And if you're struggling with your roots looking a little bit straighter, then make sure you're taking your product all the way up to the roots, as long as your products are not too heavy, because that could also weigh down your roots. So if you need more root definition, definitely take your products all the way up, especially your gel. Even if you don't want to apply your cream all the way up because you don't want it to get weighed down, definitely take your gel all the way up. So now I'm going to go in with the Dove gel. I'm just going to do probably 2 or 3 pumps like that, and then I just rake it through. This also helps a lot with root frizz. I can see some frizz that's right there at the root, so I just make sure to carry it all the way up. And sometimes I even make sure that there is product on the ends of my fingers, and then use that to apply all the way at the root. So the next question says, can you train your curls to wind in a specific direction? I have some curls that are lost. I personally think that you can. I've actually done a video comparing curl training to not curl training. Like I did one routine with curl training and one without, and I definitely noticed a difference in my hair in terms of definition, which is kind of crazy because if you think about it, like when you're unwinding the curls, you're then styling and brushing and stuff, so you're not really keeping it in that same shape that you did when you were curl training, like with your deep conditioner or with a bond repair treatment. But I still noticed that the curls just had better curl retention even after I've already taken the twist out and everything, because then they kind of just want to spiral back up. So I haven't been able to find any scientific research that shows that curls can actually be trained, or you can actually influence like the curl pattern or the tightness of the curls. But I've definitely tested it and I feel like it works just from my experience, so it's definitely worth trying. And I definitely know that it can improve over time. So if you do curl training with every wash day or every other and you're just consistent with it, I've heard people have really great results with it. So there's no like solid research or anything that shows that it definitely can work, but I've definitely noticed a difference in it. So it's worth trying. You can't change the direction of your curl. That's just the way that the curl is going to naturally go. So you can't, you know, make your curls go away from your face if they're curling towards your face. That's not possible. You definitely need to make sure you're going in the right direction. But I definitely think you can encourage the curls to take a spiral shape by curl training. So I've been using this Briogeo vegan boar bristle brush and I really like it. It gives really great tension. But because the bristles are not made out of real boar material, for one, it's not from an animal, but also I feel like it's more gentle on the hair and it's not as like scratchy feeling. Like the bristles are made out of like a synthetic plasticky material, so the hair just glides a lot more and I don't feel like I get as many snags as I do with a regular boar bristle brush. So I highly recommend this. I can link you to where I get it. I think it's available on their site and also on Sephora. I actually ordered mine from Amazon, but it looks like it's no longer on Amazon, unfortunately. I've also been doing that trick quite a bit where you take a comb and you just comb through any of the very thick curl clumps to help kind of break them up. And that's been helping me get more volume overall. And they still spring up like once I scrunch and stuff, so it doesn't totally ruin all the curls. So the next question is very similar to that last one, and it just says, my curls spiral in a circle but are looser than others that are the same shape. Will it tighten over time? So as I mentioned, I feel like if you do try out curl training, you can definitely train your curls over time, and if you're consistent with it, like if you do it every wash day, you might see a difference, or do it once a week or something like that. I know curl training can take a lot of time, so I don't do it every time by any means, but it can definitely improve over time, especially if you know that you have damage in your hair. As your hair gets healthier, you will definitely notice a tighter curl pattern if you know that you naturally, genetically have a tighter curl pattern underneath of all that damage. So that's the biggest thing. If you know your hair is not damaged at all and you're still seeing a lot of just looser areas, that just might be the natural variation in your curl pattern, and that's okay. I mean, we can do things to help enhance the curls, like brush styling, like what I'm doing now, but totally normal to have lots of different curl patterns. And your curl pattern can also change dramatically over time. One really crazy thing that I have noticed is I feel like my curls have gotten a little bit looser over the last year or so, because if you watch some of my videos from like 2018, 2019, my curls were definitely a lot tighter. But my hair was also a lot thicker too, and then I got the iron deficiency, so I lost quite a bit of density in my hair, and I think that's why, but maybe that also loosened up my curl pattern too, I don't know, but I have more like 3A curls now, whereas I used to have more like 3B curls, and there's lots of factors that can affect that internally, like vitamin deficiencies like I mentioned, and also hormones is a big one when it comes to curl pattern. I have heard some people say that like when they get pregnant, they lose their curl pattern over time, which is just crazy that our hormones affect everything, even like the hair that comes out of our head. So it's definitely possible for your curl pattern to change over time, whether that's it getting looser or it getting tighter. It can just really depend. So one thing I've also been doing with this method of sectioning is once I get up to the top section, I take these horizontal sections, and that allows me to just get more root coverage. I usually divide this one into 2 sections. So the next question says, I struggle with the bottom layer of my hair near the nape of the neck. It won't hold curl and it's more straight. So I've done actually a whole video about this. I can link it for you down below. It's all about the different causes of varying curl patterns and how to get like a more even curl pattern. So there's lots of tips in there. But one of the things that I talk about in that video is about how a lot of times when our hair is rubbing against our collar, like the shirt that I'm wearing right now, and just general friction that happens at the nape of our neck, our curls can fall looser or fall out a lot easier. I mean, that's usually the main cause of tangles at the nape of the neck. That can also cause the curls to just fall a lot more limp because they're getting that friction all the time. So I think you would probably get more tips in that video because I go into more depth, but a lot of times it can be from that friction. So I would recommend using definitely a stronghold gel to make sure that the curls stay intact. And you can also try using a little bit of oil. Sometimes that can help sort of reduce friction in that area, but you do have to be careful because if you use too much, then you can just ruin your gel cast and that will cause it to fall. But a lot of times it is just from friction. Even if you don't wear a collared shirt, you know, your hair is still kind of rubbing up against stuff. I hear that from a lot of you during the winter time when we're wearing like scarves and winter coats and stuff like that. And just any type of material, you know, when your shirt is just rubbing up against it. So that can really just cause the curls to kind of fall in that lower section. And plus, like I mentioned, it's normal for us to have lots of different curl patterns. So some people just naturally have looser curls underneath and tighter on the top or vice versa. And you can really just enhance them. You can't like change that curl pattern like I mentioned. So I would highly recommend brush styling if you're not already, because that will really kind of force it to curl a little bit better in those areas. And then also, you know, just using lighter weight products so it doesn't get weighed down in that area. So there was loads of questions about getting your curls to curl more at the root. And I have a whole video about this that goes into all the different common causes of curls at the root just falling more limp and just ways to really enhance the curls right at the root. So, you know, as the hair comes right out of the scalp, getting it to actually start to take a curl pattern or any type of spiral. Again, a lot of times you can't really change your genetics, but I share lots of tips in that video on just how to enhance the curls at the root more. But I can just share, I guess, some of the biggest takeaways from that. And I think it's really about brush styling. I know I keep going back to that, but it's really the best way to kind of manipulate your curl pattern. If you are trying to make it tighter, or if you're trying to enhance your curls, brush styling is really the best. You can also try finger coiling. I don't know that I mentioned finger coiling in that video because I hadn't tried it before. I wasn't good at it. I have since learned how to do it, but it's just very time consuming. So I don't always recommend it for everyone, but that is a really great way to kind of curl train as you were styling. And if you finger coiled every time you style, then I bet your curls will just naturally start to take a little bit more of that spiral. Another thing that I mentioned in that video about getting more root definition is really taking that brush, place it as close as you can, and then let the hair kind of bend over this edge. That's what's really going to help the hair curl, and then just glide it down. So you want to apply that tension right at the root so it kind of curls over, and also curling away from the scalp. So I feel like I should probably pick up a smaller section to do that. But I'm curling away from the scalp, so it's bending that way. I'm not brushing downwards, I'm going up. And then you can also kind of twirl the brush as you go, and that will really make it spiral. That's called brush coiling. So see how now it just kind of takes a bend right there? It's not like pressed against the scalp. So sometimes as I get closer to my face, I'll be a little bit more precise with it and pick up smaller sections. It's hard to not grab other hair, so you do have to be careful. So the next question was super similar, and it says, I struggle with getting more definition on the hair on top of my head. Do you have any tips? So that's kind of what I was just showing, is really doing that precise brush styling. So because I create these sections, I'm able to do a little bit more precise styling around the face framing pieces, so that really helps. Even if you don't have time to section off your whole head, maybe you could at least take a section around this area. That way you can do some brush styling and really help to place those curls and clump those curls in the direction that you want them to go. I'm also making sure to, again, take that gel all the way up to the root. So I have a lot of those like shorter hairs right here that tend to create a lot of frizz for me. I think it's like breakage and new growth right there. So I definitely make sure to take my gel all the way up, because that really smooths this. See how much better that looks? Whereas before it was kind of just like frizz going all over the place. So that really helps too with root frizz. So I would pick up a section maybe like this or even smaller, and then use the brush again right at the root like I mentioned to create a curl. And see, this piece actually curls towards my face. So if you look at the curl, see how it curls right there? It like bends towards my face, so that's how I know which direction it goes. So I'm making sure to comb it upwards so it's not pressed against the scalp. And then I'm gonna put the brush right against it like this and then turn it so that way the brush or the hair wraps around the actual edge of the brush. And then sometimes I will even kind of finger twirl it to help guide it back in that direction. So you can see the difference that it made. So see how it's got like a nice bend right there. So the next question says, no matter what product I use, my bangs or face framing pieces frizz, curls never curl root to mid. So I think she's asking about how her roots are a little bit straighter. So that's also where I would recommend checking out that video for more tips. But a lot of times this is just completely normal. Like some people's curls just naturally do not curl until a little bit further down the shaft, and that's completely normal. So another common cause of your face framing pieces not curling up is they just get a little bit more wear and tear. Like they definitely get a lot more exposure just to like the oils on your face, and also just, you know, they get touched a lot more. Maybe you tuck your hair behind your ear. That's another big cause of that, is it just kind of gets stretched out. They just get more friction and more manipulation because they're right in the front of your face. So these pieces are definitely where I'm a little bit more precise with it, even when it comes to the parting, because I want to make sure that I'm picking up hairs that will naturally clump and group together. So if you look at this, it's actually creating like 2 clumps right here. So if this was wrongly on this side, it wouldn't actually group correctly, so I wouldn't be able to get much of a ringlet right there. So that's another big thing, is just making sure that the curls naturally want to go in the same direction, because if you're trying to clump curls that want to go in different directions, it might be a little bit harder. So now I'm done with the styling process, but before I diffuse, I'm just going to scrunch with my hair repair towel. So this is just a cotton towel, and it's actually wet, which is ideal because it's not going to absorb too much water and product. But this is another huge trick for more root definition that I talk about in the video on how to get more defined curls at the root, is to pick up the hair right at the root and then scrunch with a hair towel all the way up at the root. And if you don't want to use a hair towel because you don't want to cause frizz or anything, then just use your hands, but being mindful to just scrunch all the way up at the root, because a lot of times when we scrunch, we just go like this, and that's only really scrunching from here down. But if you want more root definition, definitely scrunch all the way up. Like even with my hands, like I'll take wet hands so I don't create frizz, but I will lift up like this and then scrunch, or I will go right here at the root and scrunch. And if you get frizz, just make sure your hands are wet, make sure you have some product on your hands, that can help too. And then just scrunch right at the root. So I can lift it up away from the scalp, and that way I can get my hand all the way up, because we know scrunching really helps to encourage your curls to shrink up. This is also going to significantly cut down on your dry time, especially underneath. Like if you struggle with your curls never getting dry underneath or just taking forever to dry, definitely scrunch out the excess water before you diffuse. I'm also going to do the crown, so I'm just going to lift up right here and then scrunch. I'm just kind of pulsing my fingers a little bit. I'm not like rubbing it or creating too much friction. So see the difference? You can already tell it's shrinking back up. So now you're probably wondering, does that remove product? Sometimes it does. If you're using a stronghold gel, you might not have issues, but I usually do like to go in with a little bit more gel. I just mix it with some water, and then I'm just going to kind of glaze that over. That's just going to make sure that we don't lose any hold. That also helps tame any flyaways that might have popped up from doing that. I'm just kind of glazing it to not disturb the curls and smoothing. And then I also kind of do the roots like this. I keep forgetting to spray my heat protectant. This is the Curlsmith Miracle Shield. You're supposed to do this after your leave-in and before your styler. So after leave-in, before gel, but I keep forgetting. But I don't want to not use it because I don't want to damage my curls, which is another thing that can cause your ends to just fall straight and flat. I'm just going in with it now. So far it hasn't hurt anything. I was worried it could like reduce my hold or something by spraying like a moisturizing product on top of gel, but it's done okay. So the next question says, my left side is not curling as much as my right side. What is the story behind this? Well, my hair is definitely like this. This section is a lot curlier than this side, especially the section right here at my face. I mean, these curls are much tighter. Like they can even get pretty tight spirals, whereas this side is a lot looser. Like look at that one, it's more of like a 3A or a wave. So that's totally normal. Like you can have lots of different curl patterns. I would say the biggest thing is just make sure that your hair is as healthy as it could be. Like make sure that there's not any damage in those areas. I'm sure you probably do have healthy hair and it's just like a natural curl pattern thing. I mean, our curls can be all over the place. Just like I was talking about before, I would just focus on trying to enhance the curls on that looser side by doing brush styling, by doing scrunching and some of those other methods, and definitely diffusing, because that's really gonna help shrink everything up so that way it's more even. Because when you air dry, you're basically just letting your curls naturally dry in their natural state, whether if that's like uneven curls or whatever. So diffusing is really gonna help you sort of force it in that more shrunken up state, if that makes sense. So now I'm gonna go ahead and diffuse my hair, and then I will show you my results after my hair is dried. So my hair is now probably like 95% dry. I'm gonna let it finish air drying, but I also wanted to mention another huge tip for getting more root definition and more curl at the root is using your diffuser prongs to actually lift the roots. I've talked about this so many times in different videos, but it is truly game changing when it comes to defining your roots and getting more root lift and volume. This is the Curlsmith Diffusion Dryer and their XXL diffuser. It's a huge diffuser. I've reviewed it. I can link you to it down below, but look at that. Like if you just hold it like that for a minute, you will notice those curls will really start to shrink up. If I air dry, I don't have any of this definition up here at the roots. And if you wanted an affordable universal option, you can check out the Bioionic diffuser attachment. I actually shared this in a recent video that I did all about the common mistakes that you're making when you're diffusing that are causing frizz. And this will go on any hairdryer that will fit in like that more narrow nozzle, but it has these long prongs which allow you to really reach the roots, and that will create a lot of root definition because you're scrunching the root and then using that heat to set it in place. So this makes a big difference. This one is adjustable as well, and this will go on any hairdryer. So I'll link you to this option as well down below because it's a really great universal one that can go on whatever hairdryer that you have. So the last question says, one side of my head gets frizzier and loses definition more than the other side. I have this same problem and I've been noticing it a lot more lately. So this side of my head usually stays pretty frizz-free in the cast days, whereas this side loses its definition and loses the gel cast, hence getting more frizzy by the end of the day. And a lot of it has to do with me touching my hair on this side way more. I don't know what it is, but I always tend to kind of mess with my hair on this side. It gets a lot more friction, and that really causes it to break up that gel cast when I'm touching it, so then it ends up getting frizzy. And this side I don't tend to touch as much. So I noticed by the end of the day, like this side has a gel cast, this one looks frizzy. So I don't know if you do that as well, but that is one thing that I've noticed for me. I would make sure that you have a good stronghold gel, that way it will stay intact on both sides, and avoid touching it, avoid any friction that might be happening on that side. I know some people also have mentioned like that their purse that they carry on this side, or their strap, is like messing up the curls on that side. That is another factor on one side of the head. But what I'm gonna actually do today is add a little bit of hairspray because I really want my curls to stay intact. I'm actually gonna be outside at a vineyard and it's pretty warm outside today. And so I wanna make sure my curls really stay intact. And I have some halo frizz going on right now, so just some frizz that's kind of poking through at the root. So this is a really good trick to kind of tame that and add that little bit of extra hold. So maybe this is something you could do on that side of your head that gets a little bit frizzier, is just add that finishing layer of a alcohol-free hairspray. So this is from Bounce Curl. It's alcohol-free, so it's water-based, so it's not going to dry out your hair. And this gives a strong hold. A little goes a long way. So I'm actually gonna spray it in my hand because a little goes such a long way that I don't wanna spray too much. And I added a little bit of water, and I'm just gonna kind of tame those frizzies right at the root. And this is just gonna give a little boost of hold. I do this a lot in the summertime because a lot of times even with strong hold gels, like they can still break up throughout the day, especially in humidity. And this will help to kind of humidity proof your hair. I'm just spraying a little bit more, adding a little bit of water, and then smoothing over frizz. And you can totally just kind of spritz it, but just be very careful because if you start spraying down your head, it will be rock hard. This is pretty strong, and I don't like my hair to feel too crispy because I want it to be easy to refresh. So I would definitely recommend just using this sparingly and just sort of for touch-ups. You can see how well that held down that root frizz. Now some of it might come back when I go to fluff my roots here in a little bit, but this just really adds that extra step of hold. So I don't think I've shared this yet on my YouTube channel, but I have over on Instagram. This is the Heritage Root Revival Root Touch-Up Spray in light brown. So this is a tinted spray to help cover grays. So I'm gonna actually spray it on my gray patch right here so you can see the before. So you can definitely see my grays here. Sometimes when I style you can't see them, but you can today. So just gonna spritz a little bit of this. It does have like a perfume smell. So I'm just gonna let it set. If you touch it while it's wet, it does kind of come off on your fingers, but once it dries, it's usually good. So that really helped to cover up those grays. I can still see a little bit, but I didn't want to completely coat my hair. You can also use this to kind of fill in any sparse areas. So if you want to use this like on your crown to help cover your scalp more, you totally could do that. And this usually will hold up for a couple of days. So I don't usually have to reapply it, which is awesome. So I'll link that for you down below. It is available at Walmart, so it's pretty affordable. So I wanted to show you the final results after my wash day. It's actually the next day, and I just did a little bit of a light refresh. As I mentioned yesterday, I was outside at a vineyard and it was pretty humid and hot outside. I pretty much spent the whole day outside after I styled my hair, which is why I wanted to kind of use products that have stronger hold. And I also did not scrunch out the gel cast. I just kind of left it a little bit more tame. I knew I wasn't gonna have as much volume, but I wanted to do that so that way it would hold up better with being outside in the wind and the hot air. So when I woke up this morning, my hair was a little bit frizzy, so I did have to do a refresh. I had more frizz on this section of my hair on this side, which I think is also what you guys mentioned that you experience as well, is one side gets frizzier than the other. That's totally normal. So I just mixed a little bit of my gel, the Dove gel that I used, with some water and then just smoothed over any frizzy pieces. I didn't have to redefine any curls, which was great because that really helped me save time. I didn't have to completely restyle my hair. So it's actually now day 3, and I wanted to happen with an extra update here because I'm not quite happy with my results on day 3, not as much as I liked my hair on day 1. I have a lot of frizz going on, and I don't know what the deal is because I've used this gel many times in the past and I've loved it. The only thing I can think of is because I combine it with this leave-in, maybe it softened the hold too much. I have noticed that sometimes if you use too moisturizing of a cream or a leave-in underneath the gel, it can soften the gel cast. I don't know, I can't think of anything else. I mean, the only other thing that is different is I don't have any protein in my routine, and maybe I need a little bit of that. And the reason I say that is because the last time that I used this, I used it with the Heritage by Mindy Ahead of the Curl cream. I really like that cream. It does contain some protein ingredients, so maybe it just works better with this. When it comes to the glycerin, I mean, there is glycerin in this as the second ingredient, but it hasn't bothered me in the past because it also contains 2 different types of polyquat ingredients, and it also has VP-VA copolymer for hold and humidity protection. So I need to look back to see if the last time I used this gel with that Heritage cream, if it was the summer or winter time. I feel like it was summer, but I need to check because maybe that's it. I don't know, but let me just show you all my hair. So I have it pulled back because I can't stand it when it's like frizzy like this in my face, but you can just see the amount of frizz if I get close. Just way more frizz than I'm used to on day 2. It's not dry or anything, which is why I think it might be just too much moisture in my hair, like the cream or the leave-in was just too moisturizing and I'm not getting enough hold. So most of the time, frizz is just from not having enough hold. So it might look okay, but when I compare this to my typical results on my favorite gels by day 3, my hair is usually not this frizzy, and I did have to do some refreshing today to try and get the frizz to go away, but I could not get rid of the frizz when I was refreshing. Like, it just came back immediately, so I think it's just not enough hold with this leave-in, unfortunately. So if you have any more questions related to curl retention that I did not cover in this video, you can definitely leave them in the comments down below and I'll be sure to get back to everyone. And you can also submit any questions that you have for upcoming Q&A videos. I'll try to do these on a regular basis, that way I'm answering everyone's questions. And as always, I will summarize all of the questions and my answers on the blog post that goes with this video. That will be linked down below along with all the products used today. So if you haven't already seen it, I definitely recommend watching the video next, all about how to get more defined curls at the root. I know a lot of you have questions about that, and I think that will help provide more tips and tricks for the root area specifically. So that video will be linked right here on the screen, and I will talk to you over there. Bye everyone.